When you're addicted to pleasure, man, it's a really tough place to be because you're caught in this like false sense of relief. It's like the pleasure soothes you, it makes your emotions and pain easier to deal with temporarily, but it also distracts you. You know, the easiest thing to do when you're addicted to pleasure is just like do the bare minimum, man, and then wait for the day to end. Because the sooner the day ends, the sooner you can get back to the pleasure, right? It just takes over completely. Now, inevitably, what happens for us is we get caught in this cycle where we're not really living, man. We're kind of just feeding our lower self and then spending the rest of our time wanting to do that again, right? It's like a masterclass in how to not enjoy your life, right? Get addicted to pleasure, resist everything, and then make your goal about getting that next hit of dopamine, right? Pure suffering. Now, when we talk about pleasure and pleasure addiction, it's good to remember that this can be with a lot of different things. So it could be with sugar, it could be with PMO, it could be with substances or video games. But to be completely honest with you, man, you know, I've been addicted to all of these things, every single one of them. And do you know what it took for me to finally release them from my life? It took a lot of truth facing, right? A lot of self-reflection. And I know that's kind of a boring answer, but for me personally, it's always been the case that if you stay doing low consciousness stuff for too long, it just gets too depressing, man. It's just too much of a crappy existence. So much so that you're almost forced to look inside and kind of, you know, question things, right? Eventually you do think stuff like, man, why is life so hard? Why does life feel so sour? Where's the sweetness gone, right? And why am I resisting everything? In reality, man, this is actually a really good thing because what it means is that the suffering is working. It means the suffering is getting you to think and it's getting you to go inside of yourself, which is perfect. Now, with this in mind, if you do want to break free from pleasure addiction, what I would suggest you do is this. Listen to your suffering and listen to your true self. So the more that you listen to that voice that says, oh man, I just can't do this anymore, or oh man, I just can't keep this up, the better. Because what that is that's your true self. And the more you have of this, the harder it is to bullshit yourself. In other words, being addicted to pleasure, man, it can only happen when you're in a low state of awareness and when you're in denial. But when you've got your true self and you've got your, real feelings and real desires, it's like the only thing you can do then is actually just follow that stuff. Because if you feel inward, you will feel that that's the only way to go. So my invitation to you is this. Let in all of these true thoughts and feelings. Because if you do, what will happen is you will get an intuition that you need to eliminate pleasure addiction. And the truth is, man, about pleasure addiction is, that we know deep down is that it's an escape from ourselves and it's an escape from reality. And therefore, we can't really be feeding it or maintaining it, right? Because it's just not the way. It's just not the way to be. And in my experience, if you really want to get serious, you've got to get to a point of such unhappiness and such discontentment that you're like, you know what, man? I literally cannot do this anymore. I literally cannot keep this up. And a great example of this, personally speaking, is with PMO. So I recently shared with you guys that with PMO, I've actually had to let it go completely, altogether, right? I can't even use it anymore. And the reason that is, man, is because it's just no longer something I can do and live with, right? A really good indicator that you should just move on from from pleasure addiction, is when your suffering gets so bad, you actually can't bear the experience you are left with afterwards, right? That is the clearest signal in the world that you should move on. And where do you move on to? Well, if you listen to your higher self, it will tell you that the way forward is with discipline and with spirituality. So if you want to evolve and grow yourself and grow as a person, the direction is a direction of high consciousness. That's the way forward. So to wrap this one up, man, I really do encourage you to start contemplating the following few questions. How long do I want to suffer for? How long do I want to resist reality? And how long do I want to repress what I really want out of life? Right? If you ask yourself these questions, man, and you let that higher part of you answer, you're going to get an answer from your true self. And I know it's hard, but if you just listen to this part of you, you will know what to do. And you will start to build this vision. You'll start imagining it, right? So go inward, visualize who you want to be, put aside the pleasure, and then go and become that person. Remember, there's nothing ever in the way other than what you create for yourself. So drop everything and go and be that person who you need to be. And then finally, man, if you do resonate with my stuff and you like my help personally, I do offer coaching. And so whether you want to overcome pleasure or you want to become, that version of you that you know you can be, feel free to check out my website in the description. We can talk and we can do some pretty amazing things together. Okay, that's it for me, man. If you'd like more videos, then my friend, as always, please do subscribe.